Today, I'm going to be showing you how I turned this into this. Let's jump into it. Before we begin, I want to give a huge shout out to Hydroconus and Jet Room Custom Toys, as they were the inspiration to do this, and I took a lot of details and notes from their customs. For this project, you're going to need quite a few things. The first thing is some kind of Lego sword. These are from Ninjago, I believe. You're going to need Milliput, which is an epoxy putty, 2 parts, you put it together and it hardens. And then lastly, you're going to need a Red Skull Bakugan. This is the base Bakugan we use to make Deadpool. In addition to that, you're also going to need a bunch of tools. I will list some up here, but you're going to need a screwdriver of some kind, something to get the pins out of the Bakugan, paint, which we will get into more detail later. You're also going to need sandpaper, paint brushes, and just general knowledge of how to take Bakugan apart and put them back together. The first step in this process is to make sure that you take detailed photos of the Red Skull Bakugan. You do this so that you know where the pins and the positions of all the little springs go when you're going to assemble it back together. This is crucial. I'll put some of my pictures up, but you'll want to take your own as well. Here is some in-depth footage of what that process looks like. As you can see, I just took the screws off a Red Skull from the base, and this is the deployment mechanism. It looks very similar to other deployment mechanisms I've seen before. This one was a little stuck. The magnet was very strong. Here is an example of a pin that needs to be pushed out. I just took this very small drill bit from my screwdriver set, pushed it through. As you can see, the drill bit got a little stuck. That doesn't always happen, but I pushed it from that side and it comes out the other side, and all I have to do is pull it out. And then the torso from Red Skull can be removed. This little spring right here, I need to be careful not to lose. Thankfully, it got stuck in the Bakugan that I had to remove later, but it came out pretty easy. I had no issues, and it pops right out just like that. And then as you can see here, the entire bottom is off. In this footage here, I'm showing where the pins are. I had a lot of issues with one of the shoulders and actually could not take it off. In that process, I ended up spraining my wrist, so be careful while doing this. In the end, I'm not sure why it was so stubborn, but it did end up destroying the bottom half of it pretty bad, and I had to go back in and sand it. In both sets of customs I took inspiration from, you'll notice that the buttons on Red Skull are gone from Deadpool. So what I ended up doing is taking an X-Acto knife and just cutting them off and sanding over it later. I started out with a 100 medium level grit that worked out pretty well, and then smoothed it over with a 440 fine grit. The end result overall turned out really good, and it's hardly noticeable on the figure at the end result. If I would have done it again, I think I would have spent more time sanding. Up next, I took the Lego swords I had, and I needed to cut this piece off because I guess it's for Legos, so I snipped it off. And then I ended up sanding the back of it to smooth it out some, because this is going to be used as Deadpool's Baku Nano, so I just took the high grit and sanded it down. And I didn't worry too much because we are going to end up covering this with that epoxy. Again, it's 2 parts. Here's me mixing both those parts together, and then once they're set, I have about an hour before they harden. So what I did here was just kind of tried and fill in the scabbard to best fit what Deadpool's looks like. Here's me working on Red Skull's head, trying to get it again to shape into Deadpool's mask. There's really no good way to explain how to do this. Just pull up reference pictures and try and get it the best you can. You are going to leave fingerprints. You can also work this stuff like clay and use water, but I didn't worry because I am going to sand away at this because it's too thick and my fingerprints are on there, and sanding gets rid of that. After hardening, this is what I was left with. I shaped it, sanded it down, and here's the end result. The Deadpool needs a little more sanding in this clip, but overall I'm pretty happy with the shape and design that I got. With everything sculpted, it's now time to paint, and I was originally going to be using my airbrush. However, unfortunately, it broke as I started to use it, so I went with this Krylon all-in-one matte red and black paint. And this stuff, particularly the red, was very hard to find. Seriously, try and find matte red paint. So I started spraying, and I was very conscious to make sure I was about 12 inches away from what I was spraying, and then just sprayed everything down in bursts. Spray paint is not my first option for this, obviously, but it did end up doing a good job. The mat's not so sticky that it takes forever to dry or catches on the Bakugan. Here is the head, which I'm very pleased. You can kind of see some markings on it. I was trying to sketch out Deadpool's mask, but it didn't quite end up working. And here is the end result of the red paint. I didn't record this next section, but the next step is to take the black paint and paint all the small details. I achieved this by taking a paper plate, spray painting little pools of black paint onto the paper plate, and then dipping my paintbrush into that and then painting that on. Here is where I put all the black paint on mine. There were a bunch of different ways people did it online from my examples, but I chose to do this. I also looked at images of Deadpool online and kind of mimicked what those looked like. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it. The only trick I really have for you is to go slow and just be very conscious of where you're putting things. And that's most of the black paint done. There were some touch-ups I had to do later, but now it's time to bust out the white and the silver and just put those accent marks on the eyes and then the belt buckle. You can also see here that I'm playing with the deployment mechanism. It was getting a bit stuck and I was also trying to figure it out, so making sure that it was loose and springy and bouncy was very important because obviously we want this figure to work later on down the road. So making sure that the deployment mechanism is back in place properly and working was a huge deal. And as you can see here, I get it down and then you can watch the body part spring up, which is a huge deal because it did take me a little while to get that part working, but now that it's working, it means that the Bakugan is one step closer to coming together. Here is what Deadpool looks like fully assembled. I used the same photos that I took when disassembling to put him back together, and the process overall was really smooth. I had no issues putting all the springs and pins back together. I'm really happy with how it turned out. Here I am just testing that deployment mechanism again. It's getting a little stuck again, but I do end up fixing it later on. One huge thing is when putting the head together, there is a little clip down at the bottom that goes in that hole. Because of the putty used, I had to dig that hole out and make it a little bigger so that the head would catch on the body and function properly. And then here is a shot of him opening properly. It was a super big achievement after some headache getting him to open. And then here is my final result. There were some touch-ups I still ended up having to do, but I wanted to get this video out for you guys, so there are some touch-ups that still need to be done, but overall I'm satisfied with the product I have. As you can see, I did not forget about his Baku Nano. I did put Velcro on there for mine. You can do a number of different things. I had one of the people I took inspiration from actually cut a hole in the back of his Deadpool and make a little like nano slot, like a little pin in a hole to go in and clip it on that way like you would Baku Nano, but the Velcro works fine for me. He's going to be a display piece. He's not, going to be the most functional Bakugan, so I did it the easy way. You could also use magnets or glue. And here is pretty much the final result. Again, there were some touch-ups I do later, but overall, I am very satisfied with this Bakugan. It was a very fun custom to do, and just an overall unique experience. I think this would have been an infinitely better Bakugan to have than Red Skull for the Marvel series, and I'm very satisfied with how it turned out. Huge shout out to Hydroconus in my Discord for inspiring me to make this, as well as Jet Room Custom Toys on Facebook. I'll leave a link to his Facebook down below if you want to check out his Deadpool, but these were the main inspirations for doing this custom Bakugan. And yeah, I think it's something Deadpool would be proud of, but let me know what you all think in the comments below. I feel like this Marvel Bakugan fits better with Wolverine, Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Captain America. You can get great poses with Deadpool because he's so goofy, like this one here. Absolutely love this Deadpool and Wolverine picture I took, but that is all I have for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to leave a like, drop a comment, and of course, subscribe for more awesome content. My name is Jesse, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.